Hey there, third grade. Welcome to Studio 37 Online Edition. This is Mr. Shear. Hope you're having fun drawing folks as pharaohs. Hope you got your grandpa drawn, your grandma drawn, your neighbor drawn. Hope everybody on your block you've been able to draw a picture of as a pharaoh, because practice is important. All right, fourth grade, just like I was saying, practice is of the utmost importance when it comes to perfecting your art and your artistic style. To illustrate this point, I want to show you some practice I did last week. My fourth graders, along with you guys, are practicing self-portraits. So this is one that I drew my very first time last week. I did all these last Thursday, which I think is okay, but not great. Here is the second one that I did. So you see a little bit of improvement, but again, nothing to write home about. My third one here is a little bit more detailed and starting to look a little bit more like me. And then my fourth one, although far from perfect, substantially better than the first three. So practice, practice, practice. That is how we're gonna get to making our masterpiece. Speaking of our masterpiece, this week's assignment is I want you to take all that practice and hard work you've done and create a pharaoh self-portrait. Now I have started on mine. You can see it's just lightly drawn. Filled the whole page. I think I'm gonna do a crayon resist on mine, meaning I'm gonna color parts of it with crayon and then paint over it with watercolor paint, and the watercolor paint will not stick to the crayon. It's kind of like magic. So that is gonna be my approach, and then after the watercolor paint dries, I might come back with some colored pencils and I might not. So next step, I will show you what it looks like when I use crayons on top of this. Stay tuned. Hello third grade and welcome back to Studio 37. As you see, I have outlined a good portion of my pharaoh portrait as well as colored in some parts that I thought might be difficult to paint in with crayons. You do not have to do a crayon resist. This is just what I chose to do. And of course I wanted to talk a little bit about painting with you since I don't get to see you this year. I figured I'd tell you via my phone. First, I want you to notice I got a pretty clean flat brush and a pretty clean round brush. You can tell I'm at school, not in my studio, because my paintbrushes are in much better shape because I wash my paintbrushes. It's a very important thing to do. I got a large bucket of water. Filled it up pretty good so I don't spill it. I have a thing of watercolor paint here and a palette on the top to mix my paint in. I'm actually gonna slide that into the screen so we can see. All right, so you're always supposed to paint background to foreground. So you're always supposed to paint what's in the back and then work your way to what's in the front. I want my back to be a light, sandy color wash because I want to be able to paint my face and it be able to stand out over the top of it. So I'm gonna get some yellow going. If you notice, I'm just mixing until it's kind of soupy, and I'm using the flat brush for this because it'll cover faster. I'm adding more and more water, just get it kind of soupy, putting it on my palette. Kind of soupy, putting it on my palette. And I'm gonna grab a extra piece of paper to practice my colors on too. So I got a piece of paper just to kind of get an idea what my color is gonna look like on my paper. Now you paint it however you want, or if you don't want to paint, you don't have to paint. It's your art. If you want to use oil pastels, use oil pastels. If you want to use charcoal and you have charcoal, use charcoal. That's too much purple. I don't want that much purple. I want just an itty bit of purple because purple and yellow are complements, so it's gonna make that yellow kind of brown. What do you think? Pretty good sandy color? Maybe a little bit more yellow, maybe a little bit of brown even. So that's gonna work pretty good for me. And I'm taking my time, trying not to talk too much while I paint. I like to paint and focus on what I'm doing. Maybe sing a little bit while I draw. And you can paint right over the top of the crayons, it's not gonna hurt anything. I'm adding a little bit of yellow and an itty bit of purple and an itty bit of brown. That's perfect. And see how it's kind of green? I didn't like that green color. I wanted it more of a warm color. Do feel kind of like Bob Ross. Making a happy little sand background for my Egyptian pharaoh portrait. A little bit of yellow, a little bit of purple. Perfect. And if I had a bigger paintbrush, I would probably use it because, like I said, you can paint right over the crayon. Because crayons are made out of oil, and oil and water do not mix. So that is why it's called a resist, because the oil and the wax and the oil in the crayons resist the watercolor paint. Resist. You can do it with oil pastels too. It's the same process. Trying to do this quickly so my videos aren't too long or too boring. If they are too long and too boring, please leave me comments and feedback. Feel free to share with any of your friends that you know, whether they be in Jonesboro or in Cairo or anywhere in Southern Illinois or in Carterville, where I know kids are missing art education. So if you have somebody that doesn't have an art teacher, this time of pandemic, they can have me. They can subscribe to my YouTube channel. They can go to my website and get all the assignments for free. I'm not trying to make any money off this. I'm just trying to make sure that every kid gets the art education that they deserve and need. So if you can help me get the word out on that, guys, play soccer with somebody who doesn't have an art teacher, send them to my videos. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to dab this up a little bit. Just like I said, I don't want to get it too dark because I want my face to stand out when I paint that. Now for my hat, or for my, what's the word we use for that? Headdress. I think I'm going to use purple because yellow and purple are signs of royalty. So you see I'm just getting the purple out, making it soupy like I did the yellow earlier. And I don't want to just purple. I'm going to have to mix up some colors a little bit because that's what art teachers do. That's what artists do. Art teachers never use colors straight how it is. I'm going to put a little bit of blue in there and get my own little color here. Maybe a little bit more purple, a little bit more blue, and maybe just a hint of yellow. Why not? Just neutral it out just a little bit. And then see, it won't stick to that yellow, and it won't, ooh, look at that white show up through there. Isn't that cool? It's like magic, isn't it? Kind of a nice periwinkle or lilac color, kind of graded out a little bit with that little bit of yellow. Whenever you're adding neutral colors like that, always add just a little bitty bit because it really goes a long, long way. And you always want to add the dark color to the light color. Of course, I just added yellow to purple, but I wasn't trying to make my purple brown. I was just trying to make it a little less purple, kind of like the color it is. And I'm going to go over that one more time where it's really light up here, because it does kind of blend in a little bit with the background there. Grab a little bit more purple just around this edge here, I think maybe just there, maybe a little bit back here too, just to give it a little bit of space. A little more of this, kind of blend it together a little bit. And go ahead and dab that up. And again, if you don't want to use watercolor paint on your Pharaoh, don't. I don't care. It's your artwork. You do you. I'm just happy that you're making art. I'm pretty happy with it so far. I think it's coming along okay. Now I'm going to make my my skin color. It's going to be kind of the same color as the background, but I want it a little bit darker. And in my case, just a little bit more red. I kind of got a little bit of a red thing going on in my face. So I'm going to test that down here at the bottom. That looks actually pretty good. And then we hit it and dab it up a little bit while we work. That looks pretty decent. Is it pretty decent? I think I can live with that. You know, in ancient Egypt, everybody wore makeup, the guys and the girls. Kind of weird, but that's what they did. So it's been going on for a little while, stuff like that. Changing colors, gonna wash the brush out. I think I'm gonna paint that just almost all the way blue with just a little bit of purple in it, this part right here. And I didn't get my ear colored in. I better get my ear colored in too. Just a little bit brown. That's too much brown. See what that does. Yeah, that'll work. A little bit of shadow on my ear there. Dab it up a little bit. Can't even tell. Boom. And we'll put some blue and some purple together to make my shirt here. Because again, purple was the color of royalty in ancient Egypt. So that would work. I am the king of Studio 37. Maybe some red over here to kind of... I should paint my false beard first, shouldn't I? So I'm just gonna paint my false beard black, so it looks like it's all black here. It has my lip and my false beard, and it's gonna look kind of gray, like my false beard, like my real beard does. And let's see, we got purple. We better just use blue, so we're at 2 out there. We'll use that blue with the purple in it a little bit, so it kind of just get a little bit more blue. So we got not too many wild, crazy colors going on. Just enough. Just so we get to draw your eye all the way down to the bottom, I'm going to throw some orange over these like reddish pinkish pattern things that I made, triangles, on the top of my shirt. Dab up the extra paint, excess water, because I don't want it too wet, and I don't want it dripping and running, and I don't want it getting on the back page of my sketchbook. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys, so there you have it. Me as my Pharaoh. I did add that brown line across the top to provide a little separation between my headdress and the yellow background. The yellow outline and the yellow background are a little close in color. Also, if I did this again, I would probably have mixed up all my face color before I painted my face, because if you can tell, it fades a little bit from a reddish brown to more of a yellow brown. I didn't have quite enough to make it all nice and even, but all in all, I mean, I think it's a job well done. I worked hard, I practiced a lot, and I ended up with something that I can hang on the fridge. So thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait to see your Pharaohs. Nothing but love from Studio 37.